Standing outside the door with love and mercy, you wonder if there's a place here for you. You know there's peace inside, but still you're searching for someone who understands the pain that you've been through. But the doors are locked, the lights are on. What are you waiting for? Come on in, welcome home. You are loved, you belong here now. No matter where you've been, just come on in. You'll find a place of rest in the arms of spirit. God is waiting so long for your homecoming day. God knows the peace you see and the hurt you're feeling. Spirit wants to hold away to wipe your tears away. For the Father waits with open arms. God is calling out your name. Come on in, welcome home. You are loved, you belong here now. No matter where you've been, just come on in. There's room in the house of love for someone just like you. Come on in, welcome home. You are loved, you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in, welcome home. You are loved, you belong here now. No matter where you've been, just come on in. Come on in, welcome home. You are loved, you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in, welcome home. You are loved, you belong here now. No matter where you've been, just come on in. James McCoy on double duty today.
Good morning. So glad to see all of you here on this chilly South Florida morning. We don't get to say that very much, do we? This is why we live here, right? So we get to put the scarf on and the turtlenecks on just a couple times a year. So glad to see all of you in your winter gear. Welcome to Unity of Pompano. Yes, indeed. As Karina said, I am James McCoy. I'm the minister of the music here. We have Reverend Louise Morley with us this morning, who's going to be speaking right there. We have Mr. John Rose at the piano this morning. The one and only Mr. Pedro Baroas at the drum set. And you know Karina. So I don't know if some of you know, but our spiritual leaders, the fabulous couple that they are, have gone themselves and have taken some of the congregation with them on a cruise. Did you know that? Perhaps some of you knew that. So I think maybe they're perhaps a little bit warmer than us this morning, but that's okay. You know why? We're here. So they're there. I know they're not going to be watching on live stream. I know this because they're having their own Sunday service aboard the ship. Isn't that cool? That's what they're doing at this time this morning, wherever they are in the Caribbean. So we wish them well. We also want to say hello to our live streamers and welcome them. Good morning, live streamers. Right back there is the camera. We do live stream the service every Sunday if you do want to stay in bed and watch on your computer. We don't encourage that, but you can. We have the technology. It is the 21st century after all. And we are a fully functioning 21st century organization. And once again, we want to say welcome. This is our yearly theme here in Unity, the exciting spiritual community where people belong. That is our January theme. And we always like to begin the service with our vision statement. And we like to say this together, if you would join me, please. Centered in God, we create an ever-expanding spiritual community of one. And we also crafted a mission statement that we also say together. We are a spiritual beacon of inspiration, abundance, and enlightenment. And here at Unity, we like to begin everything in prayer. So if you feel comfortable, to bow your head or close your eyes or take a deep breath. We just want to take a moment to know and to remember, to begin all things in gratitude this morning. We know there is no place that can be shared, no anxiety, no stress, no unpleasantness whatsoever if we are grateful, if we take a moment to remember and to be grateful. And this morning we remember that for everything God created is good, and nothing is to be rejected if it is received with thanksgiving. And with this, we are grateful for our lives, for all those around us whom we love, all of those in our worlds, and this community that we create here together. We are grateful. And for this we say, thank you, God. Amen. We like to sing here Unity, so we invite you all to stand. We're going to sing a Unity classic, I Release and I Let Go.
There was a time in my life, thought I had to do it all for myself. I didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. I didn't know the love of God was in it. But now I can say, you're discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day. You gotta let it go, let it all go. And this is what you have to say. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Yeah. What I want to know is there's a bunch of stuffed animals here. I want to know what that's about.
Well,
Awesome.
thank you, Dina.
Good stuff.
Well said.
I thought you guys just brought your snuggle buddies to church.
Thank you, Dina. Appreciate that. So once again, we want to welcome you, and we'd like to welcome anybody who's here for the very first time. We invite you to raise your hand. Anybody here for the first time? Yes, indeed. Welcome. The usher, if you just leave your hand raised just for a moment longer, the ushers are bringing around a little welcome packet with some information about this church and the Unity movement. Anybody else else? Did everybody get one? Talking about this church and the unity movement. So we want to say welcome. And we also invite you. We have fellowship time directly after the service right here in Fellowship Hall. And we have some snacks and some conversation, some coffee, as you like, before you go off into your respective days on Sunday. So we invite you to that. All right. We also want to remember that prayer is, as I said before, prayer is very important here at Unity of Pompano. We do have prayer slips. If you would like to fill one out, you can give it to the usher or put it in the offering plate or leave it in the prayer box in the narthex in the back there. And our ushers, our prayer chaplains, pray over those prayer slips, and then we send them off to Unity Village, and they will be prayed over for 30 days. If you would like to take a moment of prayer yourself, we do have a prayer chapel. It is in the fellowship hall. It's the first room as you go through the double doors here, right to your right. And you can pray in there, have some quiet time for yourself, or ask a prayer chaplain to join you, and they will pray with you. So a lot of opportunities for prayer here at Unity if you ask for it. All right, so now we're on to the announcements. Just a little bit of business to get out of the way before we move into the other parts of our service. So as Dean has said, we have these stuffed animals that are going to be going to some children in a community center, homeless shelters in the community, and we have them, we hold them, we bless them, we love them, and send them on their way to the kids, and that blessing goes with them. So you can join us Saturday, February 6th from 2 to 4. You can bring a friend and a dish to share, it says here. So that's our Stuffed with Love project. Moving on, we do have a prosperity class that is ongoing right now. It's every Tuesday from 7 to 9. I believe this is week number 3. Is that correct? Yes? And we're going to be looking at the book, The Soul of Money, as well as the Prosperity Classic Spiritual Economics. So come out for that if you want to get an insight into your own prosperity and abundance as it applies through Unity Principle. For all of you readers, we do have a book club. We're reading this book, Brooklyn, which I believe is also a movie that's out right now. And it's going to be on February 3rd at 7 p.m., facilitated by John Spera. John, raise your hand. John's going to be facilitating that. Thank you, John. So every Sunday morning at 9:30 to 10:30 in the fellowship hall, we have something that we call the Power Hour, looking at the book, The Untethered Soul, and it's a great for a group discussion. I would be going to it myself if I wasn't here rehearsing. That's the truth. It's a lot of fun. They look at the book, and there's also a lot of great discussion, extrapolating all these kinds of concepts and principles that we talk about here in Unity, particularly through talking about that book. They've studied other books like A New Earth, I believe, was one of the books that was studied as well. But right now, it's The Untethered Soul. So even if you've never been to Power Hour, you can come, and I know you will get something out of it just showing up for the first time. And that's every Sunday morning at 9:30 in the fellowship hall. And then we are going to be having Membership Sunday, and there is a membership form, a checklist that gives you some information about being a member here at Unity of Pompano. The first orientation talking about membership here, if you have been considering being a member, this orientation workshop luncheon is going to be on February 21st, and then the installation is the following Sunday. And we give you this checklist just to make sure that you know exactly what you need to know if you had any questions about being a member here at Unity of Pompano. So we encourage you, if you've been thinking about being a member, to come to fill out the checklist. You can leave it, I believe they are in the narthex, you can leave it in the back or bring it to the orientation on the 21st. And then we also have something we call Unity in the Community on January 30th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. We invite you to sign up in the narthex to be what we call an ambassador to the community of Pompano Beach, letting people know that we are here and talking a little bit about the church, the Unity movement. And I'm going to be coming that day to play guitar and sing some songs. So if you don't have another reason to come out for that. And we invite you to come along. So we have some people that are coming to be ambassadors. And even if you don't want to be ambassador, just come out that day sometime that afternoon and say hello. We'd love to see you there. And then finally, Reverend Lawrence has put together the Bible in a year, a set of passages for every week throughout the year. We feel like it's important to do some Bible reading here at Unity of Pompano, and he has listed by week, every passage you can read. And as Reverend Lawrence has said in the past, you can just read it. You can start. You don't have to start from the beginning. You can start with the week that it's on, and I believe this week it's Exodus 28 through Leviticus 4. You can start right there in the Old Testament and read the Bible in a year. You can do it if you have the focus and you want to do it, and he's laid it all out there for you. As he said, he's done everything except come to your house and read it to you. So, and I believe that is all the announcements. Yes? So we invite you to stand and greet each other.
Holy Spirit, you are welcome here. Right now, we need your presence near. Shower down your grace, oh, revive us again. Holy Spirit, you are welcome here. The house is ready, every heart is prepared. Sit at the welcome table and be blessed. This celebration is in your honor. You're invited to remain. Stand in invitation to what heaven will pray. Holy Spirit, you are welcome here. Right now, we need your presence. Shower down your grace. Oh, revive us again. Holy Spirit, you are welcome here. Souls are hungry and our spirits are dry. We need food and water from on high. So when you shower down from heaven, feed us so we want no more. Lord, we're depending on you. No other help we need. Holy Spirit, you are welcome here. Right now, we need your presence near. Shower down your grace, oh, revive us again. Holy Spirit, you are welcome here. We cannot go without your power, Lord. Send on us this very hour, Lord. Breathe on us now, break up the fallow ground. We know that only you can your people. Holy Spirit, you are welcome here. Right now, we need your presence near. Shower down your grace, oh, revive us again. Holy Spirit, you are welcome. Holy Spirit, you are welcome here. Right now, we need your presence near. Shower down your grace, oh, revive us again. Holy Spirit, you are welcome here. Holy Spirit, you are welcome here. Holy Spirit, you are welcome here.
We're so very happy to have Reverend Louise with us this morning. That's right. Reverend Louise Morley has been a truth student since 1972 and a member of Pompano Unity since the late 80s. where she has served in many ways, including associate minister with Reverend Mary Wadhams. It was Louise who joined arms with us to keep this facility from abandonment in 2010. Reverend Louise's career has been with Kaiser University since 1979, first as faculty and then administration, where she had the following positions: business manager, assistant to the president, campus director, vice chancellor of human resources, and currently ombuds. Louise is a graduate of St. Thomas University. She holds a master's in theology from Fillmore Seminary and a doctorate of divinity from Fillmore Theological College. Additionally, she's an active member of the National Association of Mental Illness, the Spiritual Directors International, and the Independent Alliance of Ministers in Unity. We're very, very glad to have Reverend Louise this morning. We kind of move into our more introspective portion of the service with the reading of the daily word this morning. The daily word for today is compassion. I am one with all of humanity. When I think of the spiritual quality of compassion, I think of Jesus. The love he gave others was like a healing balm. In quiet moments, I remember God's compassion for me and for all people. I set aside time to fully engage with God's love. I extend myself to others through my compassionate thoughts and actions. Throughout the day, I behold the Christ in others and send them compassion-filled thoughts and prayers. These heart-to-heart connections enhance my sense of oneness with the world. We are one with God and one with each other. I'm an expression of God's love, and through compassion, I connect to and serve all humanity. The spiritual reading is from Colossians 3:12. As God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience. And as the prayer chest comes forward right now, we'd like to begin a time of prayer and meditation by singing together, "Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place."
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel this mighty power and this grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel this mighty power and this grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Last week, Reverend Lawrence asked that we please send our prayers for Donald. and for Pat. Donald had been in an accident and was seriously ill. And so we have an empty chair at our table because Donald made his transition. I think it was Thursday or Friday. Some of you may not remember him because he was a quiet, unassuming presence. He always sat next to Pat. He was very active in all of our activities here at Pompano Unity. Part of the men's club, came to Power Hour with our Cynthia. Always here to count the money, make sure that the deposit was ready. So this morning, as we go into our prayer time, I ask that you remember to say thank you with gratitude that we had this wonderful presence among us. We see the glory of the Lord all around us, and as we take a deep breath and we become comfortable in our chairs, and we still our minds, let relaxation flow through from the top of our heads all the way down through our feet. Let's think about how wonderful it is that we have the opportunity to meet Spirit anytime and any place. Thank you, God. Thank you that I know you. Thank you that I live you. Thank you that I can praise you freely, that I can meet in this wonderful, wonderful building with children of yours that are of like mind with me. Thank you for the support of our community. Thank you for all that have assembled here. We know we're here by divine order. We are all here to support one another, to give each other our countenance, our love, our support, share our joy, relish in the fact that those that are not with us today are with us in spirit. Prayer is something that I have the ability to do whenever I take time for you, God. And in my meditation, I can wait on you to speak to me. So in the quiet of this room, and the presence of Holy Spirit, we take a deep breath, we let it go, and in the silence we wait. In the silence. In the silence. with joy in my heart, I come back to the here and the now, remembering I am God's child. I am love. I am light. I am. And as we close our time of prayer and meditation, won't you join us as we sing Hallelujah?
The things I gave away. And when I'm in a certain mood, I search the halls and look. One night I found these magic words in a magic book. Throw it away. Throw it away. Give your love, live your life each and every day, and keep your hand wide open. Let the sun shine through, 'cause you can never lose a thing if it belongs to you. There's a hand that rocks the cradle, a hand to help us stand, with a gentle kind of motion as it moves across the land. And the hands unclenched and open, gifts of life and love it brings. So keep your hand wide open if you're needing anything. Throw it away, oh, throw it away. Give your love, live your life each and every day, and keep your hand wide open. Let the sun shine through, 'cause you can never lose a thing if it belongs to There's a natural obligation to what we own and claim, possessing and belonging to, acknowledging our name. So keep your hand wide open if you're needing love today, 'cause you can lose anything if you throw it all away. Throw it away, oh, throw it away. Give your love, live your life each and every day, and keep your hand wide open. Let the sun shine through, 'cause you can never lose a thing if it belongs to you. 'Cause you can never lose a thing if it belongs to you. You can never lose a thing if it belongs to you.
Miss Karina. It's the music of Abby Lincoln.
What a perfect song. Thank you so much. You can never lose anything if it belongs to you. I just said to our wonderful people down here that I think we should go home now. That's about it for the lesson. That's after that song. Yeah, I mean, it says it all. It says it all. How did we come up with this lesson? Well, it's kind of interesting. You know, our monthly focus this year is on spiritual community and how we can enhance one another. So I got to thinking about that, and I thought probably the way that I can be of best value to you and your experience is if I sweep clean. Whenever I start a new project, I like to have a clean desk, a clean filing cabinet, or whatever it might be. And so if I could just sweep away all of the I don't wants, I probably would be a better neighbor, friend, companion, teacher, shopper. Well, what do I need to get rid of? Well, the two things I think for me and my personality, one would be fear, and the other one would be blame. So that will be our focus this morning. However, we are going to start with heaven and hell, because they're kind of like associated with blame and fear, right? There's a Sunday school class going on, and Miss Peterson is teaching the grade schoolers at the church about Jesus and the parables and his teachings. And so this particular Sunday, they are studying Matthew 19, verse 24. This is about the eye and the camel, right? It's easier to thread the eye of the needle than to put, okay, got it? Shall we read it together? It says in Matthew, well, let me get my notes here. How do I get so discombobulated? Well, I'm going to share with you how, and then once I've got it out in the open, maybe then I can concentrate. Since we're all family, this is a confession. In speaking about Donald, you noticed I became, here I go again, very emotional. But it's not for Donald in the passing, because such a joyous occasion. His mission here is finished, and he's gone on to his next adventure. And that's wonderful. The sadness is, Louise never said to him, I love you, Donald. Thank you for being in my life. So maybe that's a lesson for me, and I will never neglect to say, I'm going to miss you when you move. They're leaving us the 1st of February, I believe, right? Is that when you're leaving, Den? Okay. Soon. But know that I will miss you, and I'm telling you that now because it's very important for us to recognize each other and honor each other. Now, that being said, we're going to go to Matthew 19:24. And again I say unto you, it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of heaven. So Ms. Peterson says to the class, if I sold my house and my car and had a huge yard sale and I gave all my money to the church, would I go to heaven? There was a lot of shaking of heads, and the answer was no, no, no. Well, if I promised to clean the church, polish the floors, cut the grass, wash the windows every week, would that mean I could go to heaven? No, no, no. Well, if I were good to all the animals and I gave candy to all the children and I fed the homeless and sheltered those that needed it, would that get me into heaven? No. Well, then how can I get to heaven? You gotta be dead, said Johnny. You gotta be dead. Now, in Unity, we do not happen to think that that is true. We happen to believe that we create our own heaven and our own hell. I referenced Charles Fillmore, who is the co-founder of the Unity movement, and he said, one does not have to die in order to go to hell any more than one has to die to get into heaven. Both are states of mind and conditions which people experience as a direct outworking of their thoughts, their beliefs, their words, and acts. If one's mental processes are out of harmony with the law of man's being, the result is trouble and sorrow. Mental as well as bodily anguish overtakes one, and this is hell. So, if I create my own heaven and I create my own hell, why is it that at times I seemingly exceed far easily into one than into the other? Well, perhaps it's not anything more than I am not focused enough. There's a wonderful Indian mystic, recently deceased. His name is Enoch Azorn. He's written a wonderful book. It's called Passage Meditation. And in this book, he suggests that in order for you and for me to become more centered, more stable, more spiritual, more calm, perhaps what we need is something as simple as a meditation that is centered around something that speaks to you. Perhaps it could be the Rosary, the Hail Mary. Perhaps it could be prayer beads. Perhaps it could be the 23rd Psalm. Maybe it might be the Lord's Prayer. Or maybe you might take into meditation the suggestion that Reverend Lawrence gave us last week. Has anybody been working with that this week? Reverend Lawrence said to us, and I'm quoting him, I am God showing up as Lawrence, unquote. So this week I've been thinking about that. I am God showing up as Louise. I am God, showing up as Louise. Won't you say that with me and fill in your name as we do it? I am God, showing up as. How does that feel? It feels refreshing and kind of unsettling at the same time. For some, that would be almost sacrilegious to think that I am God. But in unity, we know that God does live within us. Now, this wonderful Indian guru and psychic and mystic and writer and spiritual director told a story about a sculptor in old India. This is ancient India. And the sculptor made these most magnificent reproductions of elephants with the tusks, with the ears, with the huge trunk-like legs, almost as if they were stamping the earth. They were just works of art. And a king heard about this and decided that he would like to have one of them in his palace courtyard. So he came to the sculptor, and after looking in awe at all of these beautiful, magnificent animals, he said to the sculptor, "How do you do that?" The sculptor looked at him for a long time and finally said, "Well, master, after great struggle to get the huge granite into my courtyard with the help of many, many men, I let it sit, and I do nothing except contemplate what is inside the granite. Until I see the vision, until I can feel the essence of the animal, I ponder. But when I began to see the outline, then I began to chisel away everything that is not the elephant. With an utter deliverance, I achieve my goal." Now, Mr. Aswarn was pointing out to us that for you to reach your goal, that of heaven, maybe what we need to do is chip away all of the fears that we have collected. Reverend Mary Morrissey tells a story about her 4-year-old daughter, Jenny. Like so many little people, she was afraid of water. And when they would go to the pool, and she would grasp hold of the side of the pool, and she'd, no, I'm not going in, and on and on and on and on. I mean, white-knuckled, where she was just gripping for dear life. But this went on for a good part of a month, and then finally one day, her mother said, "Oh, come on, Jenny, don't you want to go in the water?" She says, "I don't want to, but I'm going." Maybe that's the attitude that you and I need to take. I don't want to face my fears. I don't want to face them. I don't want to name them. But maybe if I do, I can release and let go. So Jenny very gingerly lets go. She goes into the middle of the smaller end of the pool with her parents, and she looks up at her mom and she said, "I got the power." And that's what you will experience. What is your fear? I'm not going to have enough. Nobody will like me. I've been hurt before. I can't let anybody in again. What is your fear? Close your eyes. Take 1 second. Name it and discard it. Gone. Just like that. Blame is another thing that I think so many of our people, I see it every day in classrooms. It's not my fault that I failed that test. The teacher didn't teach. It's not my fault that I stutter. It's not my fault that I'm shy. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. Well, children, I got to tell you something. Our history has been made up of people who had but did not blame, i.e., Muhammad. He was an illiterate caravan guide. He went into a cave and he sat down and he came out filled with a mission that was his and only his to do. 2 million people follow the religion that he established. How about Mozart? Poor beyond words, began composing music at 5. Didn't live to see all of the accolades that he has since throughout the years been given. He wrote so many pieces of music, it takes a catalog to label them all. Shakespeare. Is anybody any greater in writing a play than Shakespeare? He had a grade school education. He didn't blame anybody that he didn't go to Cambridge or Oxford. The list is in Thomas Edison. He's the perfect one. 3 months in school, and the teachers say, "Get that kid out of here. He can never, ever learn." Thank goodness he didn't listen to them. Our whole way of living has changed because of that. And Jesus, born into this family, a carpenter, went against the teachings of the day to establish a thought, the spiritual direction for you and for me. Moses, poor man, no self-confidence, stuttered. "I can't do that, God. I can't do that. I can't go to the king. You want?" He went, he did. He didn't blame DNA for stuttering. He didn't blame his parents because he was a person with no self-confidence. No blame. You might say, well, all these people are, they're prophets and geniuses. I'm just me. The greatest of them all said, "You can do this and greater things can you do." All you need to do is chip away at all those elephants. All you need to do is let go of the wall of that swimming pool. Annie got lost in the woods, and so she sat down by a tree to wait for somebody to come fetch her. After what seemed to be a very long time, a man from the neighborhood who had been out looking for her did come up to her and said, "Oh, Annie, I'm so glad I found you. Weren't you afraid?" She said, "No." "Why not?" "Because God was here." "How do you know God was here?" "I'm here." Ladies and gentlemen, God is here because you're here. Thank you for sharing your chilly Sunday morning with me. I do hope for our new people who have come today that you come back and enjoy the joyous spirits of Bev and Reverend Lawrence, because they truly are magnificent spiritual directors. And we are so honored to have them as our leaders. We know that you'll come back hopefully and share with them. Ladies and gentlemen, namaste. We do have fun, don't we? We do have fun. We have this wonderful group of musicians that are always with us, and thanks to James and his ministry of music, we are never without joyous music to accompany our day.
Thank you.
And you, madam, oh ho ho. I'll never forget. It was Christmas Eve, wasn't it? Oh, please.
Yeah, it was.
Who was here Christmas Eve? Uh-huh. This little teensy person sang an Ave Maria to die for. There was not a dry eye in this room, and oh, she was awesome. You know what? Being trained classically, obviously, but she doesn't share that part of her too often. But anyhow, we're all such a joyous group, and know that now is the time that we set aside for our giving. Our church is solely dependent upon you and your generosity. This is our home, and like any home, it has to be maintained. We have to have lights and electricity and coffee next door, so please, I know you're going to give with a generous heart. And would you do me a favor? Would you take my check and hold it in your hands as we bless them? Won't you join me as together we say our offertory prayer? With a grateful heart, I acknowledge God as source of all that is. Today, I declare good for myself and all others. Good is mine. Good and more good is mine. And ever-increasing good is mine. Everywhere I go, I see this good. I feel it, I experience it, I freely give it, and it multiplies itself around me, and so it is. Thank you.
Shackles on my feet so I can dance. Just wanna praise you. I just wanna praise you. Broke those chains, now I can lift my hand. I'm gonna praise you. I'm gonna praise you. The corners of my mind, I just can't seem to find a reason to believe that I can break free. But you see, I have been down for so long, feel like the hope is gone. But as I lift my hands, I understand that I should praise you through my circumstance. The shackles on my feet so I can dance. I just wanna praise you. I just wanna praise you. Broke those chains, now I can lift my hand. I'm gonna praise you. I'm gonna praise you. Everything that could go wrong, all went wrong at one time. So much pressure fell on me. Thought I was gonna lose my mind, but I know you wanna see if I will hold on through these trials. But I need you to lift me low. Sometimes thinking no more. Shackles on my feet so I can dance. Just wanna praise you. Just wanna praise you. Broke those chains, now I can lift my hand. I wanna praise you. I wanna praise you. Through the fire and the rain, found in every kind of way. God is broken every chain. Let me go right now. Shackles on my feet so I can dance. I can't dance. I just wanna praise you. Just wanna praise you. Broke the chain, now I can lift my hand. I'm gonna praise you. I'm gonna praise you. Hey, shackles on my feet so I can dance. Can't dance, wanna praise you. I just wanna praise you. Broke those chains, now I can lift my hand. I just wanna praise you. I'm gonna praise you. Shackles on my feet so I can dance. Just wanna praise you. I just wanna praise you. Broke the chains, now I can lift my hand. I'm gonna praise you. I'm gonna praise you. The shackles on my feet so I can dance. I wanna praise you. I just wanna praise you. Broke those chains, now I can lift my hand. I'm gonna praise you. I'm gonna praise you. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow. Our little people are here. Won't you come on up, please?
Come on, kids. This little light of mine,
I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. this little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
We have prayer partners around the room. Please avail yourself to them, not only for a prayer need, but for a prayer praise. Won't you please stand as together we say our prayer for protection, and then we end with our peace song, and then we gather next door and have coffee. Here you go.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous smile. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Happy Sunday. Go Broncos.
1, 2, 2, 2.